Strap in, speed demons! The 1970 Plymouth Superbird isn't your average muscle car. It's a winged freak show built to crush NASCAR and vanish like a ghost. Plymouth pumped these out for one wild year but buried bizarre secrets that sound straight up fake. Get ready for 20 unreal facts, each with a dopamine-dripping hook to reel you in, then the jaw-dropping truth that'll flood your brain with that aha rush. From cartoon horns to banned beasts, this ride's weirder than fiction. Let's launch. Think this bird was born to fly forever? Teaser. It got booted from NASCAR after just one season, for being too damn good. Dominating 1970 with 18 wins, the Superbird's aero wizardry terrified rivals. NASCAR slapped on 1971 rules capping engines at 305 CI for winged cars or adding weight penalties, effectively banning it. This hidden kill switch turned a champ into a one-hit wonder, sparking endless debates among fans. Ever hear a car honk like a Looney Tune? Hook. The Superbird's horn isn't normal, it's cartoonishly bizarre. Mimicking the Roadrunner character's beep beep, every Superbird came with this quirky horn as standard. Plymouth licensed it from Warner Brothers to tie into the Roadrunner branding, turning street drives into comedic symphonies. Owners still prank folks with it today. Pure nostalgic hilarity. Picture this. Dealers couldn't sell these beasts when new. Hook. They sat on lots like unwanted aliens. The wild aero body scared buyers who wanted normal muscle cars. Dealers actually removed wings and nose cones to make them sellable. Those fixed cars are now worth millions less than originals. The king himself almost quit over this car. Richard Petty was loyal to Dodge, but Plymouth stole him with a $1 million deal to drive the Superbird. This bird hit speeds that broke physics. Buddy Baker hit 200.447 miles per hour at Talladega in 1970. The first NASCAR car to officially break 200. That massive wing wasn't just for show, it's taller than most people. Standing 23 inches high and stretching nearly 5 feet wide, it generated massive downforce at racing speeds. Nobody knows exactly how many were built. Plymouth's records are so messy, estimates range from 1,920 to 2,783 cars. Some production records simply vanished into thin air. You could order this beast with 4 different hearts. From the base 440 to the legendary 426 Hemi, each engine transformed the car's personality completely. A secret Hollywood star owned one and hid it. Dean Martin bought a Superbird but never drove it publicly, keeping it hidden in his garage for years. One factory color was so rare it's practically a myth. Lemon twist yellow, only about 58 were ever made, making them rarer than most supercars. Built for extreme speed, but safety was an afterthought. No airbags, basic seatbelts, and crumple zones were just a dream. This American beast was banned from leaving the country. Federal regulations prevented export of the Superbird, making it exclusively American iron that the world could only dream about. International car magazines could only drool over photos. The perfect wing, then figured out how to attach a car to it. The sticker price made grown men cry. At $4,298, it cost more than most people's annual salary. That's like paying $35,000 for a car today. Hollywood secretly used Superbirds in movies, but disguised them. Studios removed the distinctive aero parts to make them look like regular muscle cars. Only eagle-eyed gearheads could spot the hidden Superbirds. That wing made it a weapon in bad weather. Crosswinds could literally push the car into other lanes. The wing acted like a giant sail. These birds were stolen more than any other muscle car. The distinctive look made them easy targets and impossible to hide. Chop shops sold the wings and nose cones separately for huge profits. This beast drank gas like a drunk sailor. The 426 Hemi version got about 6 miles per gallon on a good day. Owners spent more on gas than their mortgage payments. Most owners couldn't even park these things. The wing and nose cone made them too long and tall for standard garages. Owners had to build custom garages or park them outside year-round. This failure secretly fathered every modern race car. Every aerodynamic trick used in today's NASCAR traces back to Superbird innovations. From splitters to spoilers, the Superbird's DNA lives in every modern racer. But wait, we're not done. 3 bonus mind-blowers. Insurance companies refused to cover them. Too fast, too dangerous. Cops could spot them from miles away. Instant speeding ticket magnets. Today, pristine examples sell for more than most people's houses. Barrett-Jackson auctions see bidding wars over these birds. Perfect examples now crack the million-dollar barrier regularly. Collectors treat them like priceless art with climate-controlled storage and armed security. An entire industry exists just to restore these beasts, with original parts worth their weight in gold. From video games to die-cast models, the Superbird became a pop culture icon. Modern designers still study its radical approach to aerodynamic styling. Racing simulators let new generations experience the Superbird's legendary speed. Documentaries and books continue exploring its mysterious one-year legacy. Wind tunnel tests revealed aerodynamic secrets that shocked even the engineers. The wing generated so much downforce, it could theoretically drive upside down. While other muscle cars shook apart at high speeds, the Superbird stayed planted. Secret prototype testing happened at hidden facilities with engineers sworn to secrecy. Track records fell like dominoes wherever Superbirds raced. Competitors panicked so hard they demanded rule changes mid-season. NASCAR called it an unfair advantage, the ultimate racing compliment. Every modern NASCAR aero package owes its existence to this radical experiment. On the street, it terrorized everything with four wheels. Stoplight to stoplight, nothing could touch a well-tuned Superbird. Highway legends tell of Superbirds disappearing into the distance like rockets. Police departments had to upgrade their pursuit vehicles just to keep up. Every bolt and curve was calculated for maximum aerodynamic efficiency, designed using primitive computers that would be laughable by today's standards. Yet somehow, pure engineering intuition created aerodynamic perfection that still impresses today. Final countdown to Superbird supremacy. Plymouth lost the blueprints. Nobody knows how to build another one. When the original engineers retired, the secrets went with them. Modern attempts to recreate the magic have all fallen short. Street racers tell legends of ghost Superbirds appearing at midnight. Sightings are reported like UFOs, rare, mysterious, and hotly debated. Some collectors keep theirs so secret even family members don't know they exist. Supercar designers still steal ideas from this 50-year-old beast. From Formula One to hypercars, the Superbird's aero DNA lives on. In racing games, it's still the car everyone wants to drive. Social media posts of Superbirds go viral faster than the cars themselves. As investments, they've outperformed the stock market by 1,000%. Auction houses now treat them like priceless artwork. Insurance companies created special policies just for these cars. They're that valuable. The engineering was so advanced it took decades for others to catch up. It cheated the wind so effectively, physics seemed to bend around it. Scientists still study its aerodynamics to understand how Plymouth achieved the impossible. It sparked automotive passion across 3 generations of gearheads. Automotive schools teach the Superbird as the perfect case study in radical design. It inspired more automotive careers than any other single car. Here's the ultimate conspiracy. Plymouth knew it would be banned before they built it. Internal documents suggest they planned the one-year run to create instant legend status. The failure was actually the most successful marketing stunt in automotive history. By being banned, it achieved something no other car could: immortality. Imagine if NASCAR hadn't banned it. Would any other manufacturer have stood a chance? We might be watching Superbird descendants still dominating NASCAR today. Modern appreciation has reached fever pitch. Every car show stops for a Superbird. Automotive experts now rank it among the most significant cars ever built. Its influence on automotive design can be measured in every modern race car. The ultimate truth? Plymouth didn't just build a car, they built a time machine. Every time you see one, you're transported back to when automotive dreams had no limits. It represents an era when manufacturers built dreams instead of just transportation. That towering wing looks insane, right? Teaser. For decades, everyone thought it was tall for a silly practical reason. But that's a total myth. Rumors claim the 24-inch wing height allowed trunk access, but Chrysler debunked it. It's positioned above the roof for cleaner airflow and max downforce. This aero secret helped hit 200+ mph. But the myth persisted, fooling gearheads and adding to its enigmatic allure. Why do all Superbirds wear vinyl hats? Hook. It's not style, it's hiding a sneaky body mod. To flush mount the rear window for better aerodynamics, Plymouth used lead filler and seams that needed covering. Vinyl tops concealed the welds cheaply, avoiding costly handwork. This weird workaround made every bird a covert smooth operator, blending race tech with budget hacks. Built to race, but how many? Teaser: Plymouth had to crank out nearly 2,000 just because they sold more cars overall. NASCAR's homologation rule demanded one street version per 2 dealers. With Plymouth's bigger network than Dodge, they built 1,935 Superbirds versus Daytona's 503. This hidden math game forced overproduction, leading to dealership dust gatherers and today's rarity bonanza. Here's a fact that'll blow your mind about one of NASCAR's wildest creations. This bird was hatched to woo back a racing king who ditched Plymouth. Richard Petty's favorite? Let me tell you why. After Petty bolted to Ford in 1969 over the Charger's aero flops, Plymouth rushed the Superbird to lure him. It worked. He returned, winning 8 races in 70. This Petty drama was hushed, but it birthed a legend that Petty still cherishes. The return of the king to Plymouth wasn't just about loyalty, it was about proving that Plymouth could build the ultimate aero warrior. 8 victories in one season proved the Superbird's dominance. Each win was a testament to Plymouth's engineering revenge. The media barely scratched the surface of this corporate drama. Plymouth had to sell these beasts to the public to race them. Imagine driving this spaceship to the grocery store. Behind every victory was a team perfecting aerodynamic wizardry. Decades later, Petty still speaks fondly of his Superbird days. The car that brought the king home became automotive royalty itself. Those 8 wins were just the beginning of a beautiful reunion. Plymouth's gamble paid off in spectacular fashion, but the Superbird's secrets went far deeper than just winning back Petty. Every curve and extension was calculated for maximum speed. The transformation from ordinary to extraordinary was radical, and hidden in that extended snout was an engineering marvel. Pop-up headlights and a nose cone? They're fiberglass flippers that stretch the car by 19 inches for speed, not show. Hidden in the extended snout, these pop-ups reduce drag while maintaining legality. Borrowed from the Coronet, they made the Superbird 221 inches long, a weird elongation for oval dominance. Every inch was calculated to slice through air resistance. Drivers loved the stealthy glow-up during night tests. The extended nose changed everything about high-speed stability. But the nose was just half the aerodynamic equation. The wing and nose worked in perfect harmony for downforce and reduced drag. The results spoke for themselves on the superspeedways. Talladega and Daytona became Superbird hunting grounds. Creating these fiberglass extensions required new manufacturing techniques. Each nose had to be perfectly aligned for maximum aerodynamic benefit. The pop-up mechanism added complexity but solved a crucial problem. NASCAR's rules demanded functional headlights. Plymouth delivered with style. The 19-inch extension wasn't just for looks, it was pure science. Reduced drag meant higher top speeds and better fuel efficiency on long runs. Competitors knew they were looking at the future of NASCAR aerodynamics. The proof was in the performance. Superbirds were nearly unstoppable. Today's NASCAR aero packages owe a debt to this pioneering design. Restoring these mechanisms requires specialized knowledge of the original engineering. Every detail had to be perfect for both function and regulation compliance, but the real treasure was hidden under the hood. Engine beasts galore, but one reigned supreme. Only 135 got the fire god option that sounds overkill. The 426 Hemi 5.8, pumping 425 horsepower, was fitted to just 135 birds, rarer than hen's teeth. Most got the 440s for cheaper homologation. Out of nearly 2,000 Superbirds built, only 135 received the ultimate power plant. 425 horsepower was absolutely brutal for 1970. This wasn't just racing power, it was street-legal insanity. These Hemi monsters now fetch millions, with Petty's own hitting a $3.5 million bid flop in 2019. Petty's personal Superbird carries racing history in every bolt. Even at $3.5 million, it didn't meet reserve, unreal value spike. The Hemi's hemispherical combustion chambers were revolutionary. 425 horsepower was just the beginning. Torque delivery was savage. The sound alone announced you were dealing with something special. On the track, that extra power translated to pure dominance. Back then, these were just used race cars gathering dust. Today they're treated like priceless artifacts of American automotive history. Values have increased by thousands of % over 5 decades. Provenance and documentation can make or break $1 million sale. Of those 135 Hemi birds, fewer than half survive today. Every barn find discovery sends shockwaves through the collector community. Restoration costs can exceed 6 figures, but the payoff is astronomical. Perfect examples command respect at the world's most exclusive car shows. The Superbird transcended racing to become a cultural icon. From die-cast models to video games, the Superbird captured imaginations worldwide. Modern builders still draw inspiration from its radical design philosophy. The aerodynamic lessons learned shaped decades of automotive development. Richard Petty still considers the Superbird one of his greatest racing partners. His museum celebrates not just victories but the engineering that made them possible. In interviews, Petty credits the Superbird with extending his competitive edge. The Superbird's success became part of the Petty family racing DNA. Every modern NASCAR aero package contains Superbird DNA. The wind tunnel testing that perfected the Superbird became industry standard. From NASCAR to Formula One, aerodynamic innovation traces back to pioneers like the Superbird. Even today's supercars use active aerodynamics pioneered in the Superbird era. Recent auction results show Hemi Superbirds consistently breaking records. Authentication is crucial when dealing with million-dollar muscle cars. Owners treat these cars like precious artwork, with museum-quality care. Collectors worldwide recognize the Superbird as American automotive royalty. Restoring a Hemi Superbird requires expertise that few possess. Original Hemi components are worth their weight in gold. An entire industry exists just to keep these legends running. Concours judging demands absolute authenticity down to the smallest detail. When Richard Petty decided to sell his personal Superbird, the collector world took notice. This wasn't just any Hemi Superbird, it was the king's own chariot. Auction day brought collectors from around the globe. Bidding climbed past $3 million but couldn't reach the reserve. The failed sale revealed just how stratospheric these values have become. Market analysts predict even higher values as these cars become increasingly rare. New generations of collectors are discovering the Superbird's significance. Preservation efforts ensure these legends survive for future automotive historians. Annual Superbird gatherings celebrate the continuing brotherhood of owners. Historians work tirelessly to document every technical detail before knowledge is lost. Engineering schools use the Superbird as a case study in aerodynamic innovation. Contemporary designers still draw inspiration from its bold aerodynamic solutions. The Petty racing legacy continues, built on foundations laid by the Superbird era. Modern NASCAR still pays tribute to the Superbird's revolutionary impact. Racing museums worldwide feature Superbird exhibits as pivotal automotive history. The innovation timeline from Superbird to modern aero packages shows direct lineage. Today, Superbirds are honored guests at major racing events. For Richard Petty, the Superbird represents more than just racing success. The engineering achievement is now recognized as groundbreaking automotive innovation. The Superbird community keeps the spirit and knowledge alive. From desperate corporate gamble to automotive legend, the Superbird story is uniquely American. Richard Petty's favorite bird became everyone's dream machine, a legend that continues to soar.
Dealers despise them. Many Superbirds got stripped naked and reborn as boring siblings. Unsold birds languished until 1972, so dealers yanked wings, noses, and graphics, converting them to standard roadrunners. This desperate makeover hid Plymouth's sales flop, turning potential icons into incognito commuters. Collectors curse those mods today.
Helped kill muscle cars? One Superbird unwittingly fueled the EPA's power purge. In 1972, the EPA tested a 440 Superbird for emissions over 10,000 miles. Results plus insurance hikes and safety regs slashed horsepower across the board by 73. This hidden lab rat roll marked the end of the muscle era's wild excess. Sleek as a bullet, its drag coef is low but it beat a slipperier sibling in wins. At 0.31 CD versus Daytona's 0.29, the Superbird still snagged more 1970 victories. Wind tunnel tweaks prioritized downforce over pure slip, a weird trade-off that proved genius on tracks. Engineers kept the numbers secret to edge out Ford. Cartoon stickers everywhere? Hook, the bird decal rocks a helmet, like it's ready to race. Roadrunner Superbird graphics show the character helmeted on wing struts and headlight doors. This playful nod to the cartoon amped marketing but hid serious aero intent. Kids loved it, rivals mocked it until it smoked them. The genius was hiding cutting-edge aerodynamics behind cartoon marketing that parents couldn't resist. Every cartoon placement was calculated. Wing struts, nose cone, even door handles got the Roadrunner treatment. Plymouth created the first true crossover between automotive engineering and pop culture marketing. Today, those helmet-wearing Roadrunner decals are worth thousands to collectors. The cartoon that sold cars to kids now sells nostalgia to millionaires. scoops look cool but, teaser, they're total fakes, unlike its Dodge Twins real deal. The rear-facing air extractors were cosmetic plugs, not functional like Daytona's wheel well vents. Plymouth cheaped out for street versions, a bizarre cost cut that fooled buyers. Sneaky style over substance, bean counters won over engineers on this detail. Buyers thought they were getting race-ready aerodynamics but got Hollywood props instead. At the drag strip, owners learned the hard truth: style doesn't always equal speed. Real vents would have cost Plymouth maybe $50 per car. They saved pennies and lost credibility. Today, restorers spend thousands to recreate those fake scoops perfectly. Irony at its finest. Concord judges deduct points for functional scoops. The fake ones are now the correct. Rare color mishap? Hook, a forbidden orange snuck into production by accident. Burnt orange FK5 wasn't official, but a few birds got painted it due to factory flubs. With colors like vitamin C and lemon twist dominating, this oopsie hue is ultra rare. Plymouth buried the error to avoid recalls, hoping nobody would notice the unauthorized orange. Today those factory mistakes fetch premiums at auction. Errors worth more than perfection. Only a handful exist, each one a six-figure testament to the value of automotive accidents. Insurance companies now list FK5 Superbirds as separate entities, too rare for standard classic car policies. Plymouth's biggest paint mistake became their most valuable legacy. From factory floor mistake to million-dollar masterpiece, the orange that wasn't supposed to exist. Speed demon status? Here's a teaser that'll blow your mind. It shattered 200 mph in NASCAR, making history feel fake. Buddy Baker was the man who did the impossible. At Talladega Superspeedway, he didn't just hit 200 mph, he obliterated it. But Buddy Baker hitting 200 was just the beginning. Superbirds didn't just touch 200, they sustained it in actual races. Richard Petty pushed these machines to their absolute limits. This barrier-breaking performance was so unreal, so beyond what anyone thought possible, that spectators couldn't believe their eyes. Headlines called it impossible, physics-defying. But with great speed came great fear. NASCAR officials started having nightmares about what 200 mph could mean. Safety fears weren't just paranoia. They led to outright bans. The very features that made Superbird speed demons were suddenly illegal. The 200 mph era was over before it really began. But here's the thing about adrenaline junkies. They never stop chasing that rush. Today's restoration enthusiasts are still hunting for that 200 mph high. Every restoration project is a chance to touch that legendary speed, because once you know 200 mph is possible, anything less feels like standing still. The Superbird didn't just break speed records, it broke the sport itself. Engineers had created something so effective that it scared the sanctioning body into action. Modern NASCAR cars with all their technology still chase what the Superbird achieved naturally. That 200 mph barrier wasn't just broken, it was obliterated so thoroughly that it changed racing forever. Every gearhead who touches a Superbird restoration feels it. That connection to pure, unfiltered speed. Because when you're behind the wheel of 200 mph history, every other car feels like it's moving in slow motion. The speed demon status isn't just about numbers on a speedometer, it's about the moment when engineering perfection met pure racing ambition, and when something seems too good to be true in racing, when the achievement feels fake, that's usually when you know you're witnessing true greatness. But greatness comes with consequences. When NASCAR officials saw what 200 mph really looked like, they realized the sport was entering dangerous territory. The very speed that made Superbirds legendary became the reason they were banned from competition. The Speed Demon era ended not with a crash, but with a rule change that still haunts speed enthusiasts today. Every restoration is an attempt to recapture that forbidden speed, because once you've tasted 200 everything else feels like you're barely moving. The speed demon status isn't just about the past, it's about the eternal human need to go faster than physics says you should. The Plymouth Superbird proved that sometimes, just sometimes, you can actually break the laws of what's supposed to be possible. Speed demon status? Absolutely earned. And that's a legacy that no rule change can ever truly kill. One and done? Here's a hook that sounds straight out of a conspiracy theory. Plymouth ghosted the Superbird after 1970, for reasons that sound absolutely conspiratorial. It wasn't one thing that killed the Superbird, it was everything at once. Emissions regulations were tightening like a noose, insurance companies were running scared, and NASCAR rules were changing faster than a pit stop. Emissions, insurance, and NASCAR rules converged like a perfect storm to axe the Superbird completely. Only 1 year of production, just one. But what a year it was. This single model year left a legacy that outlasted the entire muscle car era. But here's where it gets conspiratorial. This abrupt vanishing act wasn't just about regulations. It hid massive economic problems that Chrysler didn't want public. The Superbird was expensive to build, expensive to certify, and selling at a loss that was bleeding the company dry. Dealers couldn't move them fast enough to justify the investment, so instead of admitting financial failure, they blamed regulations and racing rules. The real story was buried under corporate spin and regulatory excuses. But here's the beautiful irony. This corporate cover-up created something more valuable than gold. The abrupt disappearance turned the Superbird into automotive mythology, a mythical one-off in muscle car lore. Every surviving Superbird became a piece of forbidden history. Collectors didn't just want the car, they wanted the truth behind its disappearance. And the truth was far more interesting than the official story. Chrysler was closer to bankruptcy than anyone knew. The Superbird's death was the first sign of troubles that would later require government bailouts. But instead of admitting weakness, they made regulations the villain. The conspiracy worked better than they ever imagined. By hiding the economic truth, they created a legend worth millions. The ghosting of the Superbird after just 1 year turned every barn find into a potential treasure hunt. Because when something vanishes that quickly, people start asking the right questions. Why only 1 year? Why so few built? Why the sudden stop? The answers paint a picture of corporate desperation disguised as regulatory compliance. The Superbird wasn't killed by regulations, it was executed by accountants trying to save a failing company. The regulatory story was just convenient cover for economic reality. And that's how a corporate failure became automotive mythology. The 1 year production run wasn't planned, it was an accident that created the perfect legend. Decades later, automotive historians are still uncovering the real story. Every newly discovered document adds another layer to the conspiracy, but sometimes the legend is more powerful than the truth. Plymouth's ghosting act after 1970 wasn't just corporate strategy, it was the accidental creation of automotive mythology. And that mystery, it's exactly what makes every Superbird priceless today. Longer than its cousins? Here's a teaser that defies logic. The Superbird was stretched 19 inches up front, for no reason but wind cheating. Engineers took coronet parts and just kept adding length. The nose extension made it tower over its Roadrunner cousins, like a muscle car that hit a growth spurt. This weird growth spurt wasn't random. It was pure aerodynamic optimization for oval tracks. Every inch was calculated for maximum speed on superspeedways, but optimization for 200 mph had consequences. That extended nose made parking an absolute nightmare. Drive-throughs became impossible. Parking meters were enemies. Engineers working on the prototypes couldn't stop laughing. They knew the proportions were absolutely ridiculous. But the wind tunnel results were undeniable. Form followed function to an extreme that bordered on comedy. Every inch of extension meant more speed, and less practicality for everything else. Using coronet parts was pure genius. Cost-effective madness that created an aerodynamic monster. Existing tooling, extended vision, maximum wind cheating potential. On oval tracks, that nose extension was pure magic. Straightaways became Superbird territory, where aerodynamics mattered more than horsepower. But real-world driving was a completely different story. Parking meters became mortal enemies. Standard garages required precision driving that would make a pilot nervous. During prototype testing, engineers couldn't keep straight faces. Design sketches looked like automotive caricatures. But the wind tunnel didn't lie about performance. The joke proportions delivered serious speed. Tracks that once seemed impossible became Superbird playgrounds. Competitors couldn't understand how something so ridiculous could be so fast. Modern NASCAR still uses principles pioneered by that absurd nose. Every aerodynamic advancement traces back to engineers who weren't afraid to look ridiculous, because sometimes the most effective solution is the one that makes people laugh. That 19-inch extension wasn't just engineering, it was functional art that happened to dominate racetracks. Modern restorers measure every millimeter, because they know those ridiculous proportions were actually perfect. Wind cheating elevated to an art form that made parking impossible, but made racing history inevitable. 19 inches longer than logic suggested, but exactly as long as speed demanded. Today's automotive designers still study those proportions, trying to understand how something so absurd could be so perfect. Every restoration is a tribute to engineers who chose function over fashion, and every track session proves they were absolutely right. The 19-inch extension taught the world a lesson. Sometimes the most ridiculous solution is the most effective one, and sometimes being stretched beyond reason is exactly what it takes to stretch the limits of what's possible. Longer than cousins? Absolutely. And that's exactly why it's legendary. Because in racing, as in life, sometimes you have to stretch beyond reason to touch greatness. But the Superbird story is also written in the details, the small choices and hidden histories that make it a legend. Let's dive into the final facts. Ever heard of shifter swagger? Here's a teaser. Some Superbird drivers gripped a pistol, not for a showdown but for shifting gears like a bona fide gunslinger. This wasn't some aftermarket add-on, it was a factory-sanctioned piece of pure intimidation. The iconic pistol grip shifter was the brainchild of Hurst Performance, the undisputed king of shifters in the muscle car era. The standard for Mopar 4-speeds was a simple inland shifter, which was functional but lacked flair. Hurst came along and proposed something radical. The design was born from pure ergonomics and attitude. The handle was canted towards the driver, fitting the natural contour of the hand perfectly. It wasn't just a handle, it was an extension of the driver's will, a direct mechanical link to the beast under the hood. You didn't just move it, you cocked it back, slamming it into the next gear with a satisfying solid clunk. It transformed the act of driving from a mundane task into a visceral, power-tripping experience. This incredible piece of hardware was an optional extra, exclusively available for cars equipped with the legendary A833 4-speed manual transmission. And while it was an option, it felt like a necessity for anyone who truly wanted to feel the car's power. Records show that 851 Superbirds left the factory with this cowboy flair. The pairing was electric. Imagine you're strapped into the cockpit, the thunderous rumble of the engine vibrating through your seat. Your right hand finds that cool, solid wood grain and chrome grip. It feels less like a car part and more like a tool of the trade, a scepter of horsepower. Of those 851 pistol-gripped cars, 308 were paired with the formidable 446-pack engine, creating a combination of torque and tactile thrill that was hard to beat. But the ultimate combo? The 426 Hemi with a 4-speed pistol grip. Only 58 Superbirds were born with this holy grail configuration, making them among the most desirable muscle cars on the planet. Interestingly, despite its undeniable cool factor, Plymouth's marketing department seemed almost shy about it. You won't find many ads hyping the pistol grip. Their focus was singular: the aero, the wing, and the raw speed that won races. They were selling a race car for the street, and perhaps they felt a feature that evoked Wild West shootouts was a bit too unruly. But the drivers? They knew. They adored the grip, the feel, the statement it made. It was a secret handshake among those in the know, a feature that defined the car's rebellious soul far more than any advertisement ever could. Today, a factory pistol grip adds a significant premium to a Superbird's value, a testament to its enduring legacy as the coolest shifter ever made. Now for a story that feels like a cross-border conspiracy. We think of the Superbird as an all-American icon, but a few flew north for the winter. The Hook? This small flock of Canadian exports received tweaks that make them sound almost like smuggled goods. The exact number is a subject of collector debate, a classic sign of a rare and mysterious variant. Records suggest somewhere between 34 and 47 Superbirds were officially exported to Canada. The uncertainty exists because Chrysler's record-keeping from that era, especially for export models, can be a maze. So, what made these Canuck birds different? The most obvious change was inside the cockpit. To comply with Canadian standards, the speedometers were required to show kilometers per hour. Some cars received dashes with both MPH and KMH, making them instantly recognizable. But the changes went deeper. These cars had to meet Canada's own set of motor vehicle safety standards, or CMVSS. This could involve subtle differences in lighting, emissions equipment, or even documentation. Some theories suggest these cars were a way to dodge certain stringent U.S. emissions regulations by rerouting them through a different system. Furthermore, many of these cars were likely equipped with engine block heaters from the factory, a practical concession to the harsh Canadian winters. The idea of Plymouth actively hushing the details of these border birds adds to the mystique. In the complex world of international auto sales and regulations, Sometimes it was easier to just ship the cars and not draw attention to the minor regulatory gymnastics required to make them legal. This quiet export strategy has made these Canadian Superbirds fascinating outliers in the collecting world. They are the oddballs, the exceptions to the rule. Authenticating one requires meticulous documentation, like the original bill of sale from a Canadian dealership or specific codes that differ from their American cousins. Seeing one is a true treat. The image of a 200-meter-capable race machine designed for the sun-baked ovals of Daytona sitting in a snowy Quebec landscape is beautifully absurd. A tropical bird in the Arctic. These snowy sightings are more than just unreal. They're a testament to the strange and wonderful journeys these cars have taken. Far from the racetracks they were born to dominate. Finally, let's talk about the present day. With a car this rare and legendary, you'd expect them to be ghosts. But here's the teaser: survivors abound, with over 1,000 still believed to exist. The catch? For every real bird, fakes and clones lurk in the shadows like cunning imposters. Let's start with the production numbers. Chrysler needed to build one Superbird for every 2 dealerships to make the car eligible for NASCAR racing. That homologation rule resulted in a final official production count of 1,935 units. In the 70s and 80s, many muscle cars were driven hard, wrecked, and sent to the junkyard. But the Superbird was different. Its bizarre, almost cartoonish appearance was its salvation. It was too weird to crush. While a standard Roadrunner might have been scrapped, the car with the giant wing and funny nose was often saved, tucked away in a barn or garage by someone who knew it was special, even if they didn't know why. Thanks to these forward-thinking collectors and hoarders, an astonishing number of them, likely well over half the original production run, survived. But this is where the story gets complicated. As Superbird values skyrocketed into the 6-figure range, the temptation to create fakes became overwhelming. The market is now flooded with tribute cars and outright fraudulent clones built from more common Plymouth Satellites and Roadrunners. This has created a minefield for potential buyers and an entire subculture dedicated to authentication. So how do you spot a real one? It starts with the VIN, the car's unique fingerprint. A genuine Superbird VIN begins with RM23, R for the Belvedere satellite chassis, M for medium price class. 23 denotes the 2-door hardtop body, but the magic letter is the 5th digit, the engine code. U for the 444 BBL, V for the 446 pack, and the legendary R for the 426 Hemi. The year code, 0 for 1970, and the assembly plant, A for Lynch Road, complete the core identity. Any deviation is a massive red flag, but VIN tags can be faked. The next step is the fender tag and the broadcast sheet. The fender tag, a small metal plate in the engine bay, is stamped with codes for the car's options. A real Superbird will have special codes like J96 for the aero components and V19 for the vinyl top, which was mandatory to cover the rough bodywork around the custom rear window plug. The ultimate proof, however, is the broadcast sheet. This was the paper blueprint that traveled with the car down the assembly line, listing every single component to be installed. Finding this sheet, often tucked away under a seat or carpet, is like finding the car's birth certificate. It's the single most reliable piece of documentation. Beyond the paperwork, there are physical tells. The nose cone on a real Superbird is made of steel, not fiberglass like most replicas. The iconic rear wing is held up by 2 die-cast aluminum uprights. Fakes often use heavier fabricated steel. Even the decal for the jack instructions on the underside of the trunk lid is unique, showing how to use a special bumper jack extension to get around the nose cone. These are the VIN secrets Plymouth never advertised, the tiny production details that now separate the million-dollar gems from the $10,000 fakes. This constant high-stakes hunt for authenticity is what keeps the Superbird market so vibrant and values soaring. It's a world where knowledge is power, and every verified gem sends a surge of dopamine through the community. When a fully documented, numbers-matching Hemi Superbird crosses the auction block and fetches over $1 million, it's not just a sale, it's a celebration of history, a validation of rarity, and a testament to a car that was and always will be utterly and unapologetically unique. Woo! And there you have it. 20 unreal facts about the 1970 Plymouth Superbird, a car so audacious, Plymouth practically had to hide its intentions in plain sight. We've journeyed from its secret origins in the wind tunnel to its thunderous debut on the high banks of NASCAR. It was a one-year wonder, a homologation special that bent the rules and captured our imaginations forever. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement. A fleeting, glorious moment when a major manufacturer threw caution to the wind and built something truly for the ages. Just think of the sheer nerve. That iconic nose cone and skyscraper wing weren't styling choices. They were weapons sculpted by aerodynamic data in a wind tunnel. They were tools built for one purpose, to lure the king, Richard Petty, back to the Plymouth family. When Petty left for Ford, it was a crisis. The Superbird was the answer, a promise in steel and horsepower, a chariot so dominant it guaranteed his triumphant return to the winner's circle and cemented both his and the car's legendary status in the annals of racing history. But here's the ultimate irony. This legendary machine, now a multi-million-dollar collector's dream, was a commercial flop in 1970. Dealers couldn't give them away. The wild styling that made it a winner on Sunday was just too radical for the average Monday morning driver. Many of the 1,935 cars produced sat on lots for months, a powerful reminder that true visionaries and visionary cars are often misunderstood in their own time. What was once considered too weird is now priceless, a testament to its daring design. So after all that, we have to ask, what part of the Superbird saga truly blew your mind? Was it the incredible function over form engineering, the high-stakes corporate drama to win back Richard Petty? Or maybe it's the simple fact that this street-legal race car was once an unwanted oddity gathering dust on showroom floors? Let us know in the comments which piece of Superbird lore truly captured your imagination. We read every single one and love hearing what resonates with you. If you live for these deep dives into automotive history, for the stories of the rebels and the machines that defined an era, then you've found your home. Smash that like button and hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. Our garage is packed with more legends and oddities waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, keep your passion burning and your eyes on the horizon. Keep chasing that speed safely out.